Hello and welcome to the Sharks Source podcast. I'm your host, Danny Parsons. We have a lot to talk about today. First, I'll be talking about the Chris Tierney signing and comparing his contract to the contracts of other players with similar point totals. Next, I'll be talking about Ivan Chekovic and Sasha Chmelevski, two of the Sharks' most promising young prospects. Finally, I'll chat with Shergill about the Edmonton Oilers, the Erik Karlsson sweepstakes, the Marian Hossa trade, and tons of other topics from around the NHL. That's all next on the Sharks Source podcast. We're going to start off the show with Chris Tierney. The Sharks and Tierney avoided arbitration by agreeing to a 2-year contract, which averages just over $2.9 million per year. Tierney scored 17 goals and had 23 assists for 40 points last season with the Sharks in 82 games played. Now, if you're not a Sharks fan, you might not realize how much of a steal this was for the team. We're going to take a look at the salaries of players with similar point totals and compare them to Tierney's new salary. Last season, Tyler Bozak of the Toronto Maple Leafs scored 11 goals and had 32 assists for 43 points in 81 games. Last season, he had a $4.2 million cap hit, and his new contract with the St. Louis Blues will carry a $5 million cap hit over the next 3 seasons. Anaheim Ducks forward Jakob Silfverberg posted identical stats to Tierney last season in 77 games. Silfverberg's average annual cap hit is $3.75 million per season. The Sharks clearly benefited from Tierney being a restricted free agent. If he was an unrestricted free agent, he could have gotten a much better deal. Despite this, getting Tierney for under $3 million per year is another victory for Sharks GM Doug Wilson. If you're a Sharks fan, the only thing not to like about this deal is the fact that it lasts only 2 seasons. In other news, the Sharks signed center Alexander True and their 2018 first-round draft pick defenseman Ryan Merkley to entry-level contracts. That's pretty much all the news we can expect to get, unless Doug Wilson makes a trade later this offseason. Now, I'm going to move on to a segment that I will do every show, highlighting the best Sharks prospects in their minor league system. This episode, I'm going to be highlighting 2 players, Sasha Chmelevski and Ivan Chekovic. These 2 players joined the Sharks' AHL affiliate, the Barracuda, when their junior teams were eliminated from playoff contention. They were a big part of the Barracuda's miracle push to the playoffs. While their names might suggest that they are both Russian, only Ivan Chekovic is from Russia. Sasha Chmelevski was born in Huntington Beach, California, and drafted 185th overall in the 6th round by the Sharks in 2017. Last season, he played for the Ottawa 67s and then the San Jose Barracuda at the end of the season. Chances are he does not make the Sharks and returns to the 67s next season. Ivan Chekovic was drafted 212th overall in the 7th round in the 2017 draft and played for Baie-Comeau Drakkar in the QMJHL until the end of the season where he joined the Barracuda. Chekovic is also not expected to make the Sharks and will likely return to the QMJHL next season. Both of these players played great during their time with the Barracuda, especially when on a line together. Unfortunately, because they are both under 20, they are not eligible to play in the AHL because they played in the CHL last season. Chekovic scored 29 goals, had 31 assists for 60 points with Baie-Comeau last season in 65 games played. He also scored 3 goals and had 1 assist in 5 playoff games for Baie-Comeau. When he joined the Barracuda, he had 3 goals and 6 assists for 9 points in the 6 regular season games that he played for them. He also had 2 assists in 4 playoff games for the Barracuda. Chmelevski scored 35 goals, had 41 assists for 76 points in 68 games for the Ottawa 67s. He also scored 1 goal and had 4 assists in 5 playoff games for the 67s. He had 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points in 6 regular season games that he played for the Barracuda. He also scored a goal and an assist in the Barracuda's 4 playoff games. Based on these stats, and from the few times I've seen these players live, I believe that both of them are future San Jose Sharks. However, one of the reasons that I think neither of them will play for the Sharks next season is that they are both on the smaller side. Chekovic is 5'10 and 185 pounds, while Chmielewski is 6 feet and 181 pounds. Hopefully, one more season of juniors will be enough for them to put on some pounds. That is it for Sharks news. Next, I'm going to be joined by Shaedon Shergill to talk the rest of the NHL. And welcome back. I'm joined by Shaedon Shergill. If you don't know this guy, he covers the Oilers and the rest of the NHL on both his YouTube channel and his Instagram account at Shaedon Shergill. Shaedon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Danny.
Yeah, no problem. So we're going to get right into it. This guy, his main topic is the Oilers, but first we got to talk about the Marian Hossa trade. I'm going to read out the full trade right here. The Blackhawks acquired Marcus Kruger, Mackenzie Entwistle, Jordan Moleta, Andrew Campbell, and a 2019 fifth-round pick in exchange for, to Arizona, Marian Hossa's contract, Vinny Hinostroza, Jordan Osterley, and a 2019 third-round pick. Now, the main gain for Chicago here was the cap space. So, Shaedon, I gotta ask you, does this trade mean Chicago is going to be in on maybe a big-name free agent, maybe a guy like Jeff Skinner, maybe even acquiring back someone like Panarin? Does this cap-clearing space move mean they're about to do something big?
Well, I think that they are going to go after a big winger, maybe someone like Max Pacioretty or Jeff Skinner. Now, my question is, what would Chicago give up to acquire these guys? Because I know they have the cap space, but would they want to trade more prospects like they had in the past with Hartman and just right now Hinostroza? I can see Chicago maybe going after Panarin again, but they might give up too many assets to acquire somebody like that.
For sure. I'm thinking the big name prospect that they would probably have to trade if they're trying to get a guy like Pacioretty, a guy like Panarin, a guy like Skinner. I think the guy they'd have to give up is Alex DeBrincat. And
that's what I was thinking too. And maybe if they can work out something with Nick Schmaltz and maybe a first, even if they don't even want to trade a first to begin with, but they might have to trade Schmaltz because I don't think Chicago might want to trade DeBrincat because I think he had a 50-point season. I'm not sure. Let me just double check on that.
Yeah, no, DeBrincat, that's the thing. He is, I think, by far their best young player. I think he might even be under 20 or 20. He's a great young player, but they need to compete now. Taves and Kane aren't getting any younger. Crawford isn't getting any younger. They have a window to win, and that window is now. So, as great as DeBrincat is, and he's got 2 more years on his entry-level deal, so he's got all the trade capital in the world, but he needs to get moved if they want to acquire someone better. And I could totally see a team like Montreal being in on him. Him and maybe plus another asset would definitely be enough to land Pacioretty.
I definitely think Montreal's a good landing spot because Montreal desperately needs a center. They don't have a young center. Galchenyuk failed, Duran is still in there. So if Montreal wants to give up a player like Max Pacioretty to Chicago, I think Chicago has to give up the DeBrincat to acquire something like that.
All right, and I'm gonna switch it up a bit. We need to look at also why Arizona did this. Arizona, they're a confusing team to me. It seems like every year they're sort of becoming the Hurricanes of the West. Every year they're the trendy pick to make into the playoffs. All the hockey writers think they might sneak in the second wild card, and then they go on to disappoint year after year. And acquiring Hossa, I don't think it was worth it. I mean, they got Hinostroza and Osterley, both of whom are good, but they need to be making bigger moves. The Domi trade, that was a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how taking on Host's contract was a benefit, especially when they gave up Kruger as well, who I still really like.
Well, I'm pretty sure Arizona did the same thing with Chris Pronger and Pavlo Datsuk.
For sure.
I think Arizona's just maybe building up the prospect pool that they play young NHLers into the lineup. Like, I was confused too when the Coyotes took Costa's contract. Like, I really have no comment on that trade because it's a confusing trade in itself. Getting rid of Costa's contract, Chicago's taking back Kruger. Like, I can see how this makes Arizona a bit better because I know Ulster can be a good top 6 defenseman, and Hinostroza is a great young top 9 forward, but I don't really see the point of Arizona taking all these contracts where they're not going to play.
Exactly, like you said, they have done this in the past, and that's something a rebuilding team does. They'll take on big contracts to get guys along with those contracts. But Arizona, they've been rebuilding for long enough. They've got their goalie in Antti Raanta. They've got a good young core. I love getting Galchenyuk. I think that's going to be helpful. I think they need to just get rid of their rebuilding ways, and they need to start going in. I liked how they got Stepan last year. They need to stop losing because their fan base, what's left of it, should not have to tolerate with consistent mediocrity.
Well, one thing is that I do have Arizona making it into a wild card spot, but just barely because I think last season, if you check Antti-Ranta's stats, they're unbelievable. And if you have a guy like Oliver Ekman-Larsson at defense, blocked on long term, I think the team can compete, but it's just that they always start off the season horribly because I think last season started off 11-1 or something.
It was bad.
Terrible, right? So in my mind, Arizona is it's not a great team, but it's not terrible. I think they can be like a tweener team, a team that just misses the playoffs or just makes the playoffs because I think Raanta, Ekman-Larsson, Galchenyuk, Howard, those guys, if you're just gonna, I feel like they're gonna carry the team to the playoffs, and that's what I feel like. And about the fan base, actually, if you search them on YouTube, Arizona Coyotes 2012 playoff goals, they actually do have a fan base. I just don't know why fans don't go to their games anymore.
Well, I do know that they did get support, and that's the truth about most American sun-based sports, not just hockey, even big sports like football, baseball, basketball. There's just too much things to do in the where it's warm, and people don't show up to support losing teams in the Sun Belt. That's just not something they do.
Yeah.
So when they're winning, they'll support them, but you almost can't blame them for not wanting to go out of their way to drive to an arena that's deep in the suburbs and watch a losing team. They deserve a winning team.
Yeah.
And while I think they've made some good moves, I don't understand how this Hossa trade really helps Arizona.
Yeah. Well, I do think that John Chaika does have a plan, and I could see Arizona making one more move because I think that they're at the contract limit of 50. I think they have 50 players on the contract, and they can have a couple more RFAs, so I don't think Arizona's done making moves. I can honestly see them probably adding another top 9 forward, but who would they give up?
Yeah, no, you are correct. I'm on cap friendly now. They are at the 50 contract limit. They do have to move someone, and I really can't see who. But I watched their team in the minor league, the Tucson Roadrunners, in the Calder Cup playoffs, and even though they did go out in the second round, when they played the San Jose Barracuda in round 1, they were absolutely dominant. I think Rich Hill is their goalie. he could definitely compete with. Let me check. Kemper, yes, he could compete with Kemper for that backup job, and they, Strome. I think he'll be on the team for sure next year. He'll be on the big club, and the
thing is, this is a make or break year for Strome because he's entering his, I believe, I think it's his 4th year of his contract. Can you check that out?
Yes, I'm checking right now. But yeah,
so he's drafted in 2015.
Yeah, no, but because he didn't play on the big club, he actually still has 2 years left on his entry level deal. But at 21, I mean, both of the Stromes actually, Ryan and Dylan. We'll get to Ryan and the Oilers a bit later, but they've both been pretty disappointing. I think they were both top 5 picks, at least top 10 picks.
Top 5.
Yeah, and neither of them have really panned out. Strome was very good in the AHL last year. Lawson Krause was very good in the AHL last year. So Arizona's got promise, but they need to do something big. And getting Hossa is not big. All right, he's done. If you've been living under a rock and don't know, Hossa's never going to play another game of NHL hockey in his career. So
actually, speaking about Lawson Krause, when Arizona acquired both Dave Bowen, who won't play as well, and Lawson Krause, I was thinking you're giving up a good prospect, and so far it looks like Lawson Krause isn't panning out either.
Yeah, well, I think Krause will pan out because just seeing him in the AHL, he was great. I think he will, but Arizona's been missing on a lot of prospects, but they can just. I do think that our Antti Raanta, Galchenyuk will make them at least competitive. Maybe bring more people out to Glendale.
And there's one defenseman for Arizona that needs to stay healthy, and that's Jacob Chikrin. He's been dealing with a lot of injury issues, and he's a good young defenseman.
Very good, but needs to stay healthy. Agreed, 100%. All right, so that's Arizona. Who knows how they'll do? We will wait to find out. But we are going to move on to probably the biggest letdown all summer. NHL Sirius XM radio a few weeks back, or maybe a week back. I can't exactly remember how far back it was. Sirius XM NHL Network Radio tweeted that it was all but official. Erik Karlsson was at Tampa Bay Lightning. All it was pending was league approval. And everyone waited on the edge of their seats. They couldn't believe it. Tampa Bay was a juggernaut, and then it just died. No explanation to how this rumor happened. And Erik Karlsson right now remains an Ottawa Senator. So Shaedon, I have to ask you, what's the deal? Does Karlsson start the 2018-19 season as a Senator, and does he end the season as a Senator?
I was actually thinking about that last night. I do think that Karlsson will start the season as a Senator, but I think as the season progresses on, just like the Matthew Shane talks, I do think that they'll start heating up, and I do think by trade deadline day we should know Erik Karlsson's fate, but I think he won't. I don't think he's going to finish the season with Ottawa.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think
because these talks have been heating up since like trade deadline day, where there's a rumor of a 14 trade that just missed the 3:00 Eastern time mark, and apparently it was close, and it would have went through if Vegas gave up Cody Glass. Now, if I'm Vegas, I would have been like, well, we're getting Erik Karlsson, so I'm willing to part ways with Cody Glass.
Oh, 100%. That was, I think, that was a rumor. If that was true, if Cody Glass was the only thing holding up that trade, I mean, Vegas, if you add Erik Karlsson to that team, they would have won the Cup last year. I mean, even though they went out in 5, they were all close, You add he's a top 4 defenseman in this league, Karlsson. You add him to that team, it's over,
Yeah.
So, I can't help but think Vegas is still in on Karlsson.
I think so too, but once again, if you're going to give up, if you give up one of Shea Theodore and Carl Miller, that's good, but, I don't think Vegas wants to overpay for Karlsson too, because Ottawa's probably asking for a lot, and, if some team pays overpays for Carlson and he leaves in free agency, then you're screwed.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm sure it would have to be sort of like the Galchenyuk trade, where Domi had a contract as soon as he came to Montreal, or like the Drouin trade, where Drouin had a contract.
Both Drouin and Domi were RFAs.
Yeah, that's
Carlson's
true.
a UFA.
Yeah, that is true, but I can't help but think, I know the Senators have allowed teams to negotiate contract, and I'm sure the trades would be conditional that he signs the contract, because no team would be willing to pay the astronomical price that is being offered, that the Senators want for Karlsson, without a guarantee that he's on their team long term.
Yeah, because Karlsson, in my mind, like, people can disagree with me, I think he's the best defenseman in the NHL. Like,
that's a hot take.
His numbers are amazing. Like, I think he's just the best defenseman in the NHL, and if you want to sign him long term, and if a team can't do like you said, the trade has to be conditional if a team can sign him, and if they can't, then once again, what's the point of the trade? And if Ottawa can get a lot of prospects, I think that's good, because I think their best prospect right now on the defensive side is Thomas Chabot, and after that, there's nobody. So if Ottawa can get back like a really good top for defenseman in exchange for Karlsson, I think that'll be a win for Ottawa, because they're getting a crap ton of prospects, a lot of picks, and a good defenseman. So
sure. I know Barracuda fans, San Jose Barracuda fans like myself, will know Julius Bergman is a very good defensive prospect that Ottawa has, but they got that in the whatever. I'm blanking on his name, but the trade.
Hoffman trade?
Yeah, of course, Mike Hoffman trade.
And Ottawa didn't get
that. Yeah,
we got nothing back for Hoffman.
This is. I mean, it's been well established that Ottawa got fleeced there. But
I know what happened to the Erik Karlsson Hoffman situation, but if you're getting back a guy like Bodker, who in his first couple seasons as a San Jose Shark, didn't really produce as much.
Yeah, no. Bodker played better last season, but definitely a downgrade from Hoffman. But we're not gonna get into that bad trade.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into this possible terrible decision by Pierre Dorion. It seems like Dorion is set on including Bobby Ryan in the Karlsson trade, which has to drive down the value of Karlsson.
Yeah.
When you're getting a deadweight who's getting paid over $7 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think any team that takes Bobby Ryan has to flip him, because I think that, let's say a couple of weeks ago, I think that there's a trade in queue for Karlsson to Tampa that also includes Bobby Ryan, where they're going to flip him to New York, I believe, for Ryan Callan. No, sorry. I think
including Ryan Callan. Yeah, I understand that. But if you have to then sell Ryan, and you'd have to include some incentive for a team to take him on, the price goes so high. And what I don't understand about Tampa is, I don't see how they can afford it. They already don't have a first-round pick next year.
Well, it's conditional on that McDonough trade if they win the cup.
Okay, so second then. No, I think it was if he resigned. I don't know. We'll check the condition, but I'll check it right now. But
actually, I'm on California right now too. Just look at free agency. So.
Yeah, sure. We'll check the condition, but really, Tampa, they've spent so many assets. I don't see how they would be able to get Karlsson without giving away by far their best young prospect, Sergachev, who played great on the team.
And by the way, they don't even have a second round pick. Too.
Yeah, no, it would be Phil Kessel level of firsts, maybe 2 firsts, something like that. Tampa, they could barely fit him, especially now that they just extended Kucherov. I don't know.
Well, my thing is, does Tampa really need Karlsson? They have an amazing defensive core with McDonough, the Norris Trophy winner Hedman, Sergachev, Strawman, and Girardi. That's a nice defensive core. There's no need for Karlsson be in Tampa.
Yeah,
it's just like Tampa wants to be the Golden State Warriors of the NBA, just to be a super team.
But here's the difference. Before the Warriors got Durant, before they got Boogie Cousins, they won with Steph. And the Lightning have not won with this core. They came so close and then absolutely collapsed. They blew a 3-2 series lead against Washington and lost a decisive Game 7 at home. So they clearly can't just leave it the same. They have to do something because,
the window's closing.
Yeah, they were the second best team that year. They could have beat Vegas, I think. They can't just sit idly by and let these opportunities go to waste. They've since 2015, they made the Cup final in 2015. They made the semifinals in 2016, and then they made the semifinals last year. They can't keep wasting time. They need to win cups while they can, and that's why I think a Karlsson trade might be necessary, because they need to get over the hump.
Yeah, because also about that, because if this is their probably final season, make it over the hump, which in that case
I wouldn't say it's their final season. But
they have guys like Yanni Gourde going to free agency, who's on a steal of a contract at $1 million. They have Braden Point. They have Braden Point going to free agency next year. Luckily, he's an RFA for them. Then they have, I believe, both Jake Dodson and Slater Cuckoo. Next year, Tampa's going to be screwed because they gave Kucherov a 9.5, which I think is good for him. They extended McDonough, I believe the deal is, I have right here.
Yeah, no, it's a big contract.
6.75, they're going to be screwed for next year.
Yeah. And I could see the Karlsson deal. It might be the only possible team who would be using Karlsson as a rental, because I don't see how they could fit him. They might only be able to use him as a rental, get their cup, and then they'll still be competitive without him. But,
Well, I do think that if it's in that case where Tampa, like you said, is trying to make it over the hump, add Karlsson. But it's only for 1 year because, Tampa has a lot of guys already signed. If they want to keep Karlsson, you have to trade probably both Stroman and McDonough, which you probably don't want to do.
I don't think they'd trade Stroman. I think they'd probably give up Sergachev rather than Stroman. Stroman's better now, and they need to win now.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, well, we're going to move on to an interesting team who I don't think a lot of people expected to be in on Karlsson, but for a while they were declared the front runner. We're talking about the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars, it's no secret, defense was their problem last year. They have offensive talent through the roof. They've got Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. Often they play on the same line. Martin Hansel, they've got Radek Fox. They're a good offensive team. And that's why it was so surprising that they were in on John Tavares. I'm like, he'll help any team he goes to, but Dallas has a need for defense.
Amazing.
Right now, it's Mark Mathot, John Klingberg, and who? I don't think.
I guess you can make an argument for Esso and Dell, but
no, I mean he's a depth guy. They need another big name, and Karlsson is their guy. I just don't understand who they give up. They had the third overall pick in 2017. He's a defenseman. He played, I think, in Europe last year.
Heiskanen?
Heiskanen. I think he would probably be included in that draft. Yeah. Oh, I think we might have lost Shaedon. I'm gonna pause. I will be right back. Okay, and we are back. Sorry about that. Just audio cut out, but Shaedon just told me he had a trade scenario for Dallas, so we will definitely hear that. Before we do, I don't understand how they'll fit him too. They've got $8 million in cap space, but if Bobby Ryan is included in the trade, they'd have to do some roster moves to clear cap space.
Yeah. I think any team that's gonna acquire a player like Bobby Ryan in the Carlson trade, they're probably gonna try to flip him immediately. Because I think that's what Montreal tried to do with Steve Mason, although they were unsuccessful. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. So you said you had a trade, like a proposal, a fair trade for Carlson from Dallas. Do you want to share that?
Yeah. So I have just Carlson going to Dallas. In Ottawa is getting a 2019 first, which you have to include a first or two.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Koskinen has to be part of the deal. I have Lindell going the other way because you need another defenseman back. I have Matthias Janmark. I know Janmark has been playing with some injuries, but I do think he could be a nice top 9 forward for Ottawa. And they get a forward prospect in Dennis Gurianov, who I believe was drafted 11th in 2015. No,
sorry.
I think Gurianov could be like a 25 goal scorer if he plays somewhere in Ottawa with a player like Matthew Shane.
Yeah, I think the Stars would definitely be, they wouldn't want to trade Lindell because Heiskanen's already a defenseman, so that gives up two young defensemen. But since it only includes one pick, I think Dallas would probably do it. If I were Ottawa, if Ottawa's not including Bobby Ryan, I think they would probably demand a second as well. And it would be negotiated down. We'll see how it turns out.
Like, this Carlson trade thing is confusing because I think it was also a couple of weeks ago, I think a writer for the Ottawa Sun reported that Carlson has been dealt to Tampa. Like, everybody was so excited, like you just said, and the next day he said that he got false information from a fake source. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I think the lesson learned is always check your source. Don't be. It's less important to be the first to tweet it. It's more important to be right. And he had the whole hockey world on the edge of their seats for nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think before we wrap up Carlson talk, I think we can all pick our front runners. Now. And as much as Tampa, has however close they were supposed to be, I still think that the team that makes the most sense for both Carlson and Ottawa is Vegas. I think Carlson. I think he would want to go there. They're a great team. I think Vegas has the picks. They gave up a boatload. Yeah, they've got the most cap in the league. They gave up a boatload of picks to get Tatar, and they still have plenty more. They are not worried about that. They've got prospects. They are all in, and I think that's where Carlson ends up. And Vegas is probably the only team in the league who could take Bobby Ryan and Carlson, which significantly lowers what they'd have to give up.
Yeah, but I still think in the end, even if they do include Ryan, I still think Ottawa will want Cody Clausen in a deal.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they'll live. Vegas. I think they'll be fine losing Glass if they're getting Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
All right.
Also about Vegas, one thing I don't understand is, did they know that Perron was going to go to free agency, and that's when they picked up Tatar? Because Tatar did nothing in Vegas.
Tatar, here's the deal with Tatar. He was a lot of teams pick up guys at the deadline to help with their playoff run. The reason Vegas gave up so much for Tatar was he's not a rental. They've still got 3 more years of him, and he did not play like himself. I think Red Wings fans will tell you he's normally much better than that, and I think he will return to form and probably be one of their top 6 guys next season.
And they also upgraded Dino from Stastny, which is I think that's a good move by Vegas, and it's a good term for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean Stastny. As a Sharks fan, I was
shocked.
I did not want Stastny to go to San Jose because I thought he would get 5 years. I thought he'd get overpaid, and Vegas got him on a very good deal because it's only 3 years.
I was shocked when he went to Vegas because I thought that Winnipeg, when they cleared a cap in
Oh yeah.
Mason, I thought, wow, that means Stastny stays, but no.
Yeah. No, Winnipeg, they clearly wanted him. But Stastny, he had two options, and he said that I'll take the team that beat the Jets in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you can't blame him. He's got no cup. He's 32.
Yeah.
I guess you can't blame him for wanting to win a cup, but and I think he will do very well on the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I can honestly see them. I think he's gonna play second line for them with. I think that they could put Cody Glass on the wing with Stastny. That might be overdeveloping him, but I think it'll be a perfect match with Stastny. But I think Stastny will do well in his first season, but in his first two seasons, but in his third season, I can see a massive decline for him because of his age.
Sure. Now we're past Carlson now, but we're staying on Vegas. Now you had a hot take on your Instagram story. Shaedon Shergill. He does great Oilers coverage and NHL coverage. This is something I didn't understand, didn't really agree with, but I'm really interested to hear the logic behind it. So Shaedon said he believes Vegas, the defending Western Conference champions, will miss the playoffs next season. So I guess the only question is, how come?
Well, first of all, let's be honest, most of the guys that went to Vegas, were either third liners or guys we never heard of before. When Vegas' team started to form in those first 2 months, guys like William Karlsson were on fire, and that defense core like Colin Miller and Shea Theodore were just an amazing pair for each other. Now the thing is, how would we know? How do we know that one season was just an anomaly? Because Karlsson could have a crap year next year. What if it was a one-off season? Because he was playing with Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith, two wingers that have been in the NHL for quite some time. Fleury had an amazing season, but how do we know that defense core won't fall apart? Now I'm not comparing. What I'm gonna say next here is not saying this defense is better than this team's defense, but look what happened to Edmonton's defense. Last year, even though it wasn't amazing, guys
All right, sorry, we had a little audio error. Shaedon was just comparing Vegas' defense to Edmonton's defense.
So I can continue?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. So one thing, I'm not saying that Vegas. I'm not what I mean by not comparing. What I mean by comparing. I'm just saying how one defense can equal to another defense. Edmonton in the 16-17 season, which was a good season for Edmonton because they finally made the playoffs for the first time in a decade. Edmonton's defense really stepped up because we got guys like Russell and Larson to really help out our greatest weakness in Edmonton. Dwight Clefbaum had an amazing year with 12 goals. Larson can really step up for our team.
We'll go on Edmonton a bit, but just how does this relate to Vegas right here?
What I'm going to say is because Edmonton's defense completely fell apart this season. So how do we know it won't happen for Vegas? Because
sure, good point.
And guys, once again, guys like Karlsson, William Karlsson, really stepped up, but he can always fall back down because he played with talented guys like Marchessault and Smith, and they have so many young guys like Tuck, Theodore. They can fall apart because there's a lot of guys, young players that really fall apart after the first season, Declared, Domi. It's hard to repeat that first season, and Fleury's aging too.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think Karlsson will be fine just because he was already, even though he had underperformed a bit in the NHL, he's been highly, people expected a lot of him as a prospect, and he will probably continue to play with Smith and Marchessault. But your point about Shea Theodore, I especially agree with. in Game 5 of the Cup Finals, I know on the fourth goal, and I think it was also on the third goal, so the game tying and the game winning goal for Washington, he got used twice. He was not covering his guy. The fourth goal, Lars Eller, that was his guy, and he should have been able to stop him. And I think that could be a sign of troubles ahead.
Yeah, and once again, I think the forecourt is fine, but I'm sketchy about the defense still. I'm just sketchy about that defense, and with Fleury aging, with that new contract kicking in, not this season but next season, if Fleury gets injured like he did last year, is Vegas screwed this time? Because I know last season he had 5 goalies played, I think.
Well,
but I think they really hope that this season that it doesn't happen again, because they're lucky that last season that those goalies played well as they did, but
sure,
I would risk it again.
Well, I think Fleury is sort of past his injury. He showed that in the playoffs, but yeah, I agree with you on the defensive core. They're really unproven, and aside from Nate Schmidt, who I really like, any of these guys could fall apart again next year, and my question to you is that shaky defense enough for them to miss the playoffs?
Well, there's been a lot of teams with shaky defense that have made the playoffs before. Like Pittsburgh, when they won the Cup in 2017, they didn't have their best defensive playing. Their defense wasn't that good, and they won the Cup. So maybe it's not bad if they miss the playoffs, but I definitely don't see them making a far third round we're talking about.
Sure. Okay, I definitely think that's fair. I think there will be some aggression from Vegas next season. Okay, so now we are going to move on. This is the section, if you follow Shaedon, you've all been waiting for. One of the most bizarre, crazy stories from last year was what happened to Edmonton. As a Sharks fan, it was pretty tough watching them beat the Sharks last year. And, my thoughts from that series were, one, Cam Talbot is one of the best goalies in the league. And two, McDavid's going to lead this team to a cup very soon. And then this season, I don't know what happened. Everything went wrong for this team. Talbot was looking like his New York Rangers self and not like his 2017 self. And I was just wondering, how did this happen? I don't follow the team as much as Shaedon does. So the main reason I brought him on here is I know he can give some answers. So the question here is, Shaedon, what happened?
Well, I think first of all, he had a lot of injuries. At the start of the season, Sekera was injured. After that, second round Game 5 matchup, early in the game when Getzlaf, banged his knee against Sekera, he had an ACL injury. Then also in Game 5, I think Clefbaum had an injury, and that's why he didn't return in Game 6. And by the way, about Game 4, I think the Ducks injured 4 of our top 6 defensemen, and 2 of them stayed in the game, so...
Yeah,
I was very appreciative of that.
Yeah, no, I saw the Ducks play the Sharks this year in the playoffs, and they are, I don't understand why they play this physical game. I think it's the coach, Randy Carlyle, because on talent alone, they're actually a great team. And then when they play physical, it just doesn't, it's like, what are you doing? Just score goals.
Yep. And I can tell you that a lot from my pain watching that series, especially games 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
And secondly, about Edmonton, they lost a lot of depth. When Shirley traded Everly for Strome, I understood it because, we need cap space, and Everly did crap in the playoffs. Then after this season, I was thinking that if Everly actually scored a couple more goals in the playoffs, would we get a better return for Strome? Then we have to use that rest of the 3.5 cap space to re-sign Russell.
Yeah.
With a 4x4. Then we just lost a lot of depth too. We lost Pouliot, Dayernay, Pitlick. we didn't regain anything. We lost Ostery. Like,
Yeah.
I was confused, and when I saw him signing all these AHL guys, it's like, why are you using help to help the AHL team?
Yeah, no, you know, I gotta say, I didn't understand it, you know. All the people who defended and there were a lot of people who defended the Hall trade and defended the Eberle trade. One of their main talking points was, we got cap space. And that cap space, when used well, you know, the best example being Tampa, how they used theirs really well, you know, that it can be a huge asset. But Chiarelli, it seems like he just wasted all this cap space on guys like Russell, and they've also missed out on a lot of their draft picks. You know, Yakupov just this week, you know, he wasn't on the team last year, but he's going back to the KHL. They wasted a first overall pick. Then Puljujarvi, last year, you know, I'm watching the San Jose Barracuda, and I'm seeing him on Bakersfield. I'm like, what is he doing? Wasn't this guy supposed to be a big deal? Why is he in the AHL? You know,
But the thing is about Puljujarvi that our coach, Todd McClellan, just doesn't play him. Like, I think that, I know that you see Todd play for the Sharks because, you know, you're a Sharks fan, and I think you can agree that he doesn't play the young guys. Like,
yes.
I think everybody was debating halfway through the season. I think it was after the 40 game in February. Everybody's like, put Puljujarvi on the power play, take off guys like Camilleri, and give the guy a shot. And he did this in December when Puljujarvi had, I think, 10 goals in 21 games.
Yeah.
And everybody was hyped, but then after that he fell apart. And it's just, I just don't get why Todd McClellan just doesn't play our young guys. He plays over aging veterans like Lucic on the first line with Connor McDavid. Even that doesn't have Lucic because I think he had a goal in 41 games. Like, stop playing these veterans. Play our young guys like Auberg and Ratty and stuff. Stop playing guys like Lucic and Letestu all the time.
You know what? And I think I know where it comes from. McClellan, you know, coached in San Jose, and it's no secret that San Jose has been for a long time a veteran team. You know, he's used to coaching veterans, and until recently, our young players weren't very good. You know, now we've got Hurdle and Meyer, a lot of young, good players. But when McClellan was coaching, of course he's going to play all the veterans. And before McClellan was the Sharks coach, he was the Red Wings assistant coach under Mike Babcock. So he had a lot of old players then. He's not used to coaching a young team. I don't think he's the guy for the job. But that said, I'm going to give you a question here. If you had to pick between firing McClellan and firing Chiarelli, which would it be?
Like, the thing is with McClellan, like, I like McClellan. Like, I think he's a good coach, but the only thing I disagree with him is just all just overplaying veterans. But this season, we got Reeder. Like, the only veteran we really have is just Sekera on defense and Lucic on the forward core. The rest of the guys, I believe, are 30 and younger, so we should be fine for that. For Chiarelli, I was hoping, I was praying that after the season, Chiarelli would get fired, and he didn't, which sucks. So I would fire Chiarelli any day.
Yeah, I gotta agree there. I think most NHL fans would agree he's either the worst or the second worst general manager in the league. So now that question leads into this one. You're the GM of the Oilers, let's say. How do you fix this team? How do you turn them back in to the cup contender that everyone thought they were after the 2017 playoff run?
Well, the first thing to do is clear up cap space. And, you know, Montoya's going to be our third goalie, so there's no need for him, so you can just trade him. And Cassian's making $2 million on the fourth line, which is it just boggles my mind so you can trade him, which I know he's a lack of toughness, but we still have guys like Kara, who really stepped up this season, and Nurse to be physical. Now, the one thing is the Lucic contract, and
that's the big one.
5 years left on that.
$6 million per.
Which,
oof.
I the one thing, like, it's gonna be a bad contract for bad contract unless you add like two person guy. You get a guy like at best a Victor Rask, which isn't that good either. So I can really just see a contract swap, but I think, in my opinion, that Lucic is coming back for this next season. If he does do better than his 34-point campaign, he gets around 50 points, that could increase his trade value, and maybe we can take a slightly better contract, not a whole lot better, but slightly better contract, then it could work. But right now, there's nothing to be done, and the thing is, Edmonton needs defense, like a whole lot of it, and then there's a lot of rumors saying trade Clefbaum for Krug when Krug makes like 1.2 million higher, and Clefbaum's younger, and he's going to be such a great defenseman. I don't see why you're going to waste a guy like Clefbaum, who did have a shoulder injury all season, which also hammered our defense.
I actually heard he's had this shoulder injury throughout his entire NHL career. So I think now that he's gotten it fixed, I think he's going to become even better than he's already been. And that contract at 4.167 is going to be a steal. Yeah, absolutely. I think Lucic has to go. Even if he does.
Like, I don't really care if I get back. Like, I can get back. I don't care if I even get back enough. Who has a bad contract? So I just want to get rid of Lucic for just maybe an overpaid defenseman with a couple of years left.
And now, cap space, that's important, but like we've said before, it's what you do with it that counts. Now you have all this cap space. Who do you go out and get to make the Oilers better?
Well, right now we actually have 4.9 cap. We still have Darnell Nurse on sign, and I think it was just a couple days ago where his agent stated that he doesn't want to sign a long-term deal in Edmonton right now because they don't have the cap space. Now, two things going to my mind is saying, well, isn't that good because he doesn't want to take a lot of money, he doesn't want to hurt the team. But I also want to my mind saying, thinking that, does he hate Edmonton? Like, it's a confusing situation, and like, I do think that Edmonton ends up signing Nurse to a bridge deal, maybe around $3 million at 2 years, similar to what Strong got, but after that, you could probably sign a guy like maybe Nick Short as a depth forward, and for defensemen, there's guys like Alexei Emelin, Jason Garrison to go after. Like, there are some defensemen like Paul Martin is out there, but
yeah, trust me, as a Shark fan, you don't even get near that thing. Okay, he was great when he was good. I think his days of being a stable defenseman are over.
Yeah. But I do think in the end, I do think that Edmonton can go after Nick Shore. There's Yannick Hansen, who's also a Shark. There's one more player that I was looking at. I forgot who. Crap.
You can go back to him later, but yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
Edmonton really has nothing to do, and next year, if Puyar's an RFA now, I can see Puyar having a breakout season if he plays with Draisaitl, because I doubt he plays with David. I think that Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Radulin stays because they were fired near the end of the season, but there's nothing really much you can do with this roster, and the thing with Puyar is, since he's an RFA next season, my thing is maybe give him a bridge deal right now, similar to what Tampa did to Kucherov. Maybe give Puyar like a 2-year deal at low cost. Maybe he breaks out. That contract looks like a steal, but then 2 years you have to pay for it. But
yeah,
at least you don't have to pay for it right away.
Bridge deals at first you think they're good for the team,
Yeah.
But then it turns out sometimes they're not. Johnny Gaudreau, if you look at Calgary, he did not want a bridge deal. He said, no, I want a big contract, and he didn't go to training camp. I think he missed preseason. He might have even missed regular season. And
actually, no, he played all the regular season.
Okay, so he missed some preseason. Then he eventually gets his way, and he signs for $675 until 2023. And now he's looking like an idiot, because if he had taken a bridge deal and waited, 2 more years, he could have gotten way more, probably 8.5. So as good as bridge deals are for teams short term, sometimes it's better to give a player a longer contract. Because
and speaking about Calgary, just saying that Lindholm deal, like it's too much. Like 6 years is too much term, and he got overpaid by a bit. And I do think that Calgary, all these contracts are gonna screw them sometime in the future. They don't have a proper goalie.
all right,
People are online saying like that. Calgary's could be a dark horse, tough contender. With that goaltending and
no way.
Yeah, unless they can get some guy like.
Yeah, no, I agree. Here's the thing. They have, Lindholm. Here's the thing. They're doing the same thing they did with Gaudreau with Lindholm. They're taking a risk by not bridging him. But if he does turn out to be, what some people have said he will be, that deal could turn into a steal. It also could look really bad. We won't know for a bit. And just to make your point on goal, Smith played well last year when he wasn't injured, and that's the problem. That's the problem. He can't stop getting injured.
Smith has a hip issue, and if I were the Flames, I would just told Smith get hip surgery this offseason and just come back when you're ready, because as the Flames, you can't risk that. You don't want to put Rittich and Gillies again. If one of them gets, if one of those guys get injured, does that mean you're gonna rush Tyler Parsons in the lineup?
Yeah,
I think they need a couple established goalies.
Gillies and Rittich, both of them I think are AHL goalies. I watched both of them last year because they play on Stockton, who plays the Barracuda a lot, and neither of those goalies I think can be trusted to hold down the Flames' net if Smith gets injured again. And that's, Calgary is taking a huge risk if they're not getting a real backup, or better, a starter who isn't 36 and who won't get injured,
The thing is that at the 2016 draft, I think there was a deal they would have got Ben Bishop, but they didn't want to give up too much.
Yeah,
Then they went out and acquired Brian Elliott, and everybody was like, oh, the Flames actually got a real goaltender that they might win the cup, but Elliott
didn't work
failed. I think Johnson had a good stretch, then he just failed too. So, the thing with the Flames is that they need an established goalie. They haven't had one since Mika Kiprusoff.
Yeah.
And I do think Parsons will be that guy in 2 to 3 years. 3 years, not right now.
Exactly.
Right now, you have to get a goalie on a 3-year deal. And Carter Hutton would have been a perfect choice because he got a 3-year deal in Buffalo, but no one else is free agent.
I don't understand. Yeah, they would have to make a trade or something. But it doesn't seem like they will. It seems like Mike Smith is their guy going into next season, and that could very easily backfire. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens.
All right, so we're going to start wrapping things up on this segment. One more question for you. I know you did this on your Instagram story, but a lot of people don't know. So I want one team who, just pick any, that preferably who we haven't talked about yet on this show, who made the playoffs last year, who you think is going to miss the playoffs this year, and pick one team, preferably who we have not talked about yet, who missed the playoffs last year that you think will make it next year.
Okay, so I have to go back to my story right now because I forgot.
I remember one of yours was Philadelphia. You had them missing.
Yeah, I had Philadelphia missing it because I don't. Once again, it goes back to goaltending. That defense is awesome. They added JVR, which is a bad contract.
Bad for in a while, but I think for now, for this season, it's a good contract.
Yeah, but for Philly, one thing, it's the goaltending again. To me, Philly is the Calgary of the East because they have an amazing forward court and an amazing defense. They just need a goaltender. That's all they need.
And that's been a problem for Philadelphia for years. They haven't had a consistent goal. I don't even remember the last time they did. even in 2010, that cup run, Michael Leighton was their goalie. Who is this guy?
He was?
In the 2010, Michael Leighton was their goalie.
Where's he now?
And I think he's in the AHL. I think he's actually still around. Michael Leighton hasn't done anything since. And even back then it wasn't consistent. Brian Boucher, who now works for NBC Sports, and he's a former Shark, by the way, he was their starting goalie going into the playoffs, and Leighton replaced him. So even when they made the cup, they haven't had a good goalie. I don't know what it is about Philadelphia not having a goalie, but this has been going on for years.
Philadelphia, I believe, had
Brizgalov
before, right?
Yes.
And when they made that trade for Steve Mason, from Columbus, I think it was wasn't it Bobrovsky? Because Bobrovsky.
Yes, they gave up Bobrovsky.
I was like, if you just waited a couple seasons and don't take a risk on Steve Mason because goalies,
with Bobrovsky, they'd be cup contenders. He's one of the best in the league.
But the thing is, Bobrovsky's playoff stats say otherwise.
Well, I don't. We're not going to get into Bobrovsky. I think it's all between the ears with him. I think it's a mental thing. I think if the Blue Jackets make the playoffs, he will perform well. But back to Philadelphia, I agree with you. I also have them missing the playoffs. As much as I like the addition of JVR for now, that contract will turn sour eventually. But for now, I like it. And as much as I love that defense, they need a goalie. And now, even if you can't remember from your story, just pick any team right now who missed the playoffs last year who you think will make it next year.
I could probably see New Jersey.
They made the playoffs last year, though.
Oh, sorry, that did it because I can.
Yeah. Sorry, my question was unclear, but yeah.
It's okay. I don't want to feel biased. That's actually hard because
if it's Edmonton, it's Edmonton. If that's who you think.
I was thinking about Edmonton. I was just we just talked about them, so I say St. Louis because they added O'Reilly, they added Bozak,
Yes. Yeah. No, I think they're the
only thing is for St. Louis is just if Jake Allen performs.
Yeah.
That's all.
Exactly.
That's all.
What happened, Jake? He stuns Minnesota in 2017, and he single-handedly wins the series for the Blues against Minnesota, and he performed decent against Nashville. Nashville was just a really good team. And then this year, what happened? I don't know why he suddenly was not playing like himself, but I think St. Louis is the most improved team this offseason besides the Leafs because they obviously got Tavares, but they need Jake Allen to play well. And that's sort of been a theme for this podcast, teams, or this episode anyway, teams, who are good and should be good and just don't have goaltending.
Yeah, and going back to Jake Allen, and I think in 2016 when Brian Elliott just carried them against the Sharks where they lost in 6.
Yeah, and they didn't.
When they traded Elliott, I was I know Jake Allen's going to be good, but do you want to trade a guy that really carried you to the third round? And when Jake Allen started playing well in that season and Elliott fell, maybe they made a smart choice because I think they also got a first from next year.
Yeah, no, they got a good haul.
The thing is that Jake Allen is still pretty young, so he could rebound, but I think that the Blues need to be worried about their goaltending situation because they just need Jake Allen to play well. Not fantastic, not like a 920 save percentage, just around a 917.
Sure.
Get a 2.45 goals against average is good enough for Jake Allen. I feel and just make a deep run to the playoffs because the Blues haven't been in the finals since 1970, where they made the playoffs. Made the finals 3 straight times. They got swept twice. The Blues need to do something. And I do think that Jake Allen will be a big factor to that.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think Jake Allen will rebound just because I don't think that series against Minnesota is a fluke. But all the predictions and stuff we've made during our conversation, we'll wait and see. So that's going to be it for this podcast, actually. Yeah. So I'd like to thank Shaedon for joining. You can check out his Instagram and YouTube channel, both in the description below. We're going to have him on a lot more during the season. Give his analysis of what's happening. As soon as that Erik Karlsson trade, if it gets done over the summer, we'll have him on. Thanks for coming on, and make sure to check out his Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great. All right, and that's it for the podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Check out my Instagram at SharkSource. I'll be posting about when I have my next podcast. For all your Sharks and NHL news, the Sharks Source podcast is where it's at. All right, thanks everyone. See ya.